Hi everyone, this is Lori with Three Keys Astrology. Again, I'd like to thank you so much for the condolences, for all your loving kindness, for your sweet comments, for the things that have gone on. Really started right before Christmas in our own home personally. But I know that it's not an easy time, and I can tell you just the friendships that have been made in my Three Keys Astrology group are a source of comfort. So I have a private Facebook page. You have to qualify to get in, but once you're in, the rules are there are no rules. Um, my group is made of quality people, and for every new member of Three Keys Astrology, I offer everyone a free mini reading. And it's really hard to believe that an avenue like the internet and YouTube um, can help us really come together. Um, the closeness that you feel, and as an astrologer, it's my job to read character, and it's a wonderful job. So I just want to say thank you to all the lovely people out there. You guys also, excuse me, are really helping me build my business. And I've upgraded, excuse me again, please. I've upgraded my website to the best of my ability. I still need some help with that, but I'm regularly blogging in there. You'll find weekly forecasts in there. There is no charge, no membership, nothing like that going on. Maybe in the future, but for right now, all resources are free. The website has all of my readings on it and um, most of my work. Now, most of my work, we're recently on X now. I signed up for Instagram, but I don't do it very often. And I'm going to probably be increasing my social platforms um, as we proceed through this year. So, this video today is about the full moon, and it's in Leo. So, the most affected sign, if any of your three keys are in Leo, you'll be really feeling this moon, and I'm sure you are now. I'm making this video on Saturday, February the 8th. I'd hoped to get it done sooner, but a lot of loss in my family and a lot of heartache. So, um, I've taken a little bit longer, and I'm sorry, but I promise the quality of this video will be equal to the other work I've done for you. So, if you have three keys, this is why it's important for you to come and become a member of Three Keys Astrology. Once you identify your three keys, which are your sun, the way your purpose in the world, your being, how are you being, what are you exhibiting? Your moon is your internal self, and your rising sign is where the sun was on the horizon, the dawn of the day that you were born. So even though you might be born in May and you're a Taurus, where the sun was at the dawn of that day, you could have been born at 7 in the afternoon, in the evening, or 11 at night. But where the sun was on the dawn of that day describes your rising sign. And one's rising sign proves the character that we are in our public arena. So it's often called the mask or the persona. So how you behave when you're not in your own home, and what you project out into the world is your rising sign. So once you know those three keys, if you're beginning to get interested in astrology, you'll really enjoy these videos and learn a lot more and follow more. And of course, once you get a reading, we meet each other on Zoom for an hour. And I've got established clients that come back and come back and come back. And we can just have astrological consultations at that point. But each and every year, your soul hopefully accelerates and progresses. And each and every year, you have new duties, new lessons to learn. And that's called the cycle of life. So, in this full moon in Leo, the people that are most affected are, of course, Leo. In the construct or the cross that we bear for Leos, the opposition of Leo is the Aquarian. And each other are each other's shadow. We're going to talk a lot about that day because of what we're going to be feeling like during this rather tenuous full moon. in that cross, we'll put Leo right here. Leo's over here, and we'll put Aquarius here. So Leo the self, and then Aquarius to Leo would be others, intimate others, marital relationships, business partnerships. Those are Leo's others at this culmination full moon at 24 degrees Leo. And then in this configuration, right now in Aquarius, we have a conjunction with the Sun to Mercury. So that's how Aquarians are being. They're being given literally a new year of life at their birth date. And it's conjunct Mercury. Mercury's now never more than 28 degrees away from the Sun. So Mercury can never be opposite the Sun. It can never be squaring the Sun. Mercury always stays in the orbit of the Sun, as does Venus. But she's 48 degrees away. At this current time, this full moon configuration, we're going to talk the most about is the biggest aspect configuration. If you want to study astrology, I teach. And I have students that'll tell you what kind of teacher they think I am if you're interested. So we have the Sun and Mercury in Aquarius, and we have the Moon in Leo. And the degree that we're talking about is 24 degrees. So this is an important degree in the aspect configuration of this full moon. The reason it's going to be a doozy, it's going to be a wingdinger, it's going to be a little on the crazy side, is because within that cross, where we have Leo and Aquarius reacting to each other's shadow sides. So, that's the horizontal bar of the cross, but the vertical bar of the cross, forever and always, for in every chart, from time immemorial, we have Taurus and we have Scorpio. So, each other are each other's shadow sides, Taurians and Scorpios, and then Leo and Aquarius. Why this is so interesting, this particular full moon, it is because Uranus has been in Taurus. Now, she's going to be moving out of there. He or she, Uranus, is really a sexless figure. But Uranus is at a critical degree because it's near the evil star Algol. And if you like Greek mythology, and if you've been watching my channel, you've heard me talk before about Medusa. And she has that head full of snakes. Her hair is indeed a pile of snakes. She's a character who, when she looks at you, you turn to stone and crumble. So Medusa is Algol. Now, this is not funny, but this is indeed true. To date, I've done 10,000 readings, and it is very true. And I have read for people, you can literally lose your head, physically be decapitated, if you have planets in jeopardy near this evil star of Algol. I've read for people that I felt comfortable enough to say, by the way, did this happen? Yes, that happened. Total strangers. I was in a store one time in Erie, Pennsylvania, and a sweet bunch of girls were checking us out at the clerk's desk, and we started talking about astrology. And one of them, a Scorpio, was very hanging behind the rest of the crowd, moved to the front, very interested. She was indeed a super Scorpio, became a member of my Facebook group, and she mentioned something about her boyfriend. And when she told me his birthday, I asked her if anything happened to his head, because he had stars very near Algol. And so it can be literally losing our heads. Can literally be a decapitation in an accident, a murder, a crime. But it's also on the mental level, losing your mind over angry issues and things that come flying out of the blue, things when you're shocked. So Uranus, in this particular sense, brings the element of shock, and this is not a very nice aspect. We're going to talk about that. In astrology, when I become your teacher, I'll be teaching you about astrological configurations, and this particular one happens to be a T-square. So if again you imagine the cross that I talked to you about. This is what we call a fixed cross in astrology. And each of those signs mentioned, Leo and Aquarius, Taurus and Scorpio, are fixed personalities, which means we're stubborn and we're a bit immovable and we're quite opinionated. We've earned them. Being opinionated is not a bad thing, by the way. When you get to be a certain age, you have to come to grips with the truth and the not truth and discern what's nonsense and live realistically. Each of these signs has that capability and ability. And yet, if you imagine again that cross, the dynamic of a T-square is a triangle, a big red triangle. So our horoscopes that we read in astrology, the science is very cool because the wheel itself in analysis looks like a microscopic view. But if indeed you turned that wheel and looked up to the heavens, what we're reading is where the stars indeed actually are in our night sky. And in this configuration, you would see that the sun and moon are opposite each other. Now, the sun and moon are the masculine and feminine on the planet, males and females, and people of authority are who the sun represents. And Leo inherently has been gifted by probably past lives, if there are such a thing. Still can't wrap my head around that entirely. But Leo is one of our signs that's regal. They're royal. They're natural born leaders and they're meant to shine. They're ruled only by one planet, the most important planet, the sun. And I've said before in my videos, it's a scientific fact that within 8 minutes, should our sun in this universe ever go out, mankind could not survive. So we have a complex immediately at every full moon, and that is why more crimes are committed, because we've got an antagonistic energy, the two lights, the vitality, the star of day and the star of night in this conflict with each other. And when you add that T-square and you come down to that element of Uranus being in Taurus, first of all, Uranus doesn't belong there. Uranus's domicile, or another word for that is home, is in Aquarius, but it's not home. It's in Taurus. Uranus is the reason we're having earthquakes. There will be quakes on the earth. They're happening now. There will be volcanic eruption, and there will be all kinds of tumult in the ocean, because at full moons, we have tides rising high. So we're going to see crazy weather during this moon. You've got to be very, very careful of accidents during this full moon. And because of where Neptune is, and if you've been listening to my weekly forecasts, or you've been reading my blog that's a weekly forecast on my website, you'll know that I've talked since before the year started about Neptune being at an anaretic degree, and it is. And Neptune is the king of the waters of the world. And as I said in a couple of videos ago, he's a tempest right now. King Neptune is angry. And we've got Medusa with this hair full of poisonous snakes ready to attack. Very angry, enraged, in fact. And then we've got King Neptune in this anaretic degree, the ruler of the water, is going to evoke flooding. Uranus in Taurus makes mud when there's this torrential rain and this anger and this electrified atmosphere, with Uranus being in a square to where he really belongs. Now, if Uranus were where he really belongs in in Aquarius, we'd have all kinds of genius breakthroughs and it would be a more positive effect. But here it's not. And so mudslides, torrential rains, earthquakes, volcanoes, accidents in the sky, as a matter of fact. And I've said before, I hate saying this. I did a video for you on the channel, 2 of them as a matter of fact, part 1 and part 2 of Pluto plowing into Aquarius. And I said, I hate to say it because many people fly for a living, but the skies are dangerous. And there's a lot of faulty things happening and purposeful sort of sniper attack on engines of planes, helicopters, any kind of air flight. There's a detrimental energy and Pluto up there in the air. So we've unfortunately seen, as soon as Pluto ingressed, plane crashes everywhere. It's not funny, it's dangerous, and you should consult an astrologer before you plan big trips, um, so that you can prevent this mishap. And by all means, if you don't want to do that, try to find another way to travel right now. I recommend it. Um, Especially if your sun or moon are near that energy. Pluto is death, and the sun is vitality, and the moon is vitality by night. So, this is a really interesting aspect configuration that we have going on. So what I'd like to do before I tell you about the nice things, because there are, we never have astrology charts that are completely negative, and neither are they completely positive. And that's just a fact of life and human nature. So I want to break this down for you a little bit further. This indeed is the wheel. And you can go look at this yourself. Unfortunately, at this time, I'm still not all that technically savvy. I would like to have a big screen television behind me. I may be doing that very soon. And then we'll talk a little bit more, and I'll be a little bit more your instructor besides just giving you this information in a blog style or vlog style, I guess they call it. But indeed, in this chart, you can see a really big red triangle, and that red triangle depicts the tension I'm talking about. So when I teach my students, a T-square configuration is a bit like a pressure cooker. And if you've ever used one, and especially young wives or new wives or someone new to cooking, they're a bit intimidating. The pressure cooker, if it exploded, could blow your whole kitchen apart and splatter within extremely hot liquid, because the point of the matter is pressure, pressure, pressure. It's a fast way of conduction and cooking. When we have a T-square in the astrology chart, we want to take a close look at whether the planets involved are benefic, meaning they're goodness and light, or whether they're malefic. Uranus is considered a malefic planet. In dignity, it offers something a little bit better, but Uranus is really a wild card, and he's a cat that's out of control. And Uranus in Taurus, if you read my weekly forecast a couple of weeks ago, I likened this energy to a mad cow in heat. It's like mad cow disease. It's a bull that's charging. And as a matter of fact, Algol, the evil star, is red in the night sky, and it is the left eye of the bull. Now, it's close to the Gemini. Its degrees are in early Gemini. So this is really a powerful configuration that affects all people that are late-born Taurus or early-born Gemini. All of you are born with this propensity to lose your mind, to be a little bit erratic, to be crazy, to be ignited and energized by this crazy evil star Algol. And unfortunately, there are other things that it brings with us. Now, the Arabs were the first people, and Babylonians too, that were interested in the stars. And we astrologers have a hero named Ptolemy, and they're not sure whether he was Egyptian, or there's controversy about where he came from, because he ends up in Greece, in Alexandria, and he is the reason his book is one of my favorites. Ptolemy was quite an intellectual, as were lots of philosophers who enjoyed astrology. So back to this configuration. I'm going to talk to each of you about your signs, so hold on and wait for me. But we're going to break apart this configuration, and that's indeed what we do when we analyze. We break down the components, and then we look at what they're doing in this, what is a triangle of terror indeed, in this chart. So we're going to start with a full moon because it is her placement. But the full moon in Leo is not comfortable. The moon is actually exalted in Taurus, and then she rules Cancer. So Cancers are going to be very affected because you're in a semi-sextile to Taurus, and you're in a semi-sextile to Leo. Actually, I'm sorry, you're in a sextile to Taurus, and you're in a semi-sextile to Leo. So cancers already are emotional. We are the most affected by all the phases of the moon. If you have any of your three keys there, especially your moon there. It's a proprietary moon in Leo, and it's regal in a sense in Leo. So these are women or men who can be a bit arrogant when you're born with your moon in Leo. There's a hubris about these characters, and they think they're a bit cut above. And with that arrogance comes this elitist attitude, and there's a bit of a looking down at the nose at others with this energy. Now, we have to come back to what that Leo energy's shadow side is, and it's Aquarius. And Aquarius is cold energy. It's an energy that is, I'm going to turn my screen. My husband just popped through the video there and he didn't know it, the poor guy. Eventually I'll be having my own brightly lit office and I won't have to hold him hostage while I'm doing my work. But that was Roger, my sweetheart, my little childhood first love, who's now my husband, and I love very much. Back to that. Sorry, he always distracts me. And most of the time I just want to be left alone. But anyway, it's a good distraction to have. I'm not complaining. So where were we? We were talking about the shadow side. So the shadow side, Leo's hot. Leo's bright. Leo's ruled by the sun. Leo's dynamic and exciting. And I love Leo. We have a lot of them in my family. Students that have come to me have been of Leo nature. And these are natural leaders, and they're dynamic, robust, dramatic people. More actors are Leo than any other sign. And people gravitate toward them, just like we gravitate to be in the warmth of the sun. And to be around a Leo that's happy is delightful. But Leo, when they're angry, hungry, pissed off, arrogant, because wow, can they be, they will turn around like a queen with their chin in the air and their nose even higher, and they will cut you off, and they'll never talk to you again. So the energy that we have right now is there's a lot of cutting off. There's a lot of deheading. There's a lot of losing our minds. There's a lot of anger in this configuration. It's a lot more serious than just being mad for a moment. We're going to talk about that. But just think of someone who does a 360 on you and you never see them again and they never talk to you again, because there are people like this in our lives. And as painful as it is, this culmination, full moon in Leo, can indeed bring about more of that family drama, because the moon is family. The moon is the mother and the sun is the father, and so they can be at odds with each other. With Uranus there, this is divorce energy. This is my final stop. I've, excuse my French, fucking had it, and I'm done. And cut off. Cut off in more ways than one, because the moon in a square to Uranus is indeed that also cutting off energy. So we have the sun squaring Uranus and we have the moon squaring Uranus. And Uranus is this erratic wild bull. Algol rules the left eye of the bull. And in ancient times, in medieval times, left-handedness was considered malefic. And people born with that, they feared were evil. So as long as we're talking about antiquity and medieval times, I'm a huge history buff. This is my jam also. I was studying to be a professor of medieval studies when a life-changing accident interrupted that. But this aspect configuration, sun against the moon, and both of them square to Uranus, I want to remind you that the fifth commandment of our Bible in Christianity says, "Thou shalt not kill." Mankind does not have the right to take life in any form. I am 100% pro-life. I am against the death penalty. That's man playing God. I'm against euthanasia, and it's okay if you don't share my views. They're conservative. I'm snooty in my morality and my opinions, but I'm going to be 63 years old and I've earned them. Um, you can't argue with God. Mankind always tries to play God, and there will be a lot of that going on right now because we've got the two lights, the two luminaries, sun and moon, which are authority figures, maternal authority and paternal authority, and they're in this convoluted pressure cooker with Uranus of losing our minds and losing our head. And then we've got, especially for cancers, we've been suffering because Mars has been retrograde in Cancer. And Mars is the warrior. He wants to cut you off. He wants to stab you. He wants to shoot you. Mars is a malefic energy and it's about war. So this is such hot energy. I'm going to break things down, like I said, and I'm going to peek over here at my notes, so forgive me. You wouldn't believe the analysis that I do for you guys over and over. My husband gets piles and piles of these papers that I do your forecast with and my analysis when I read for you. And so I highlighted the full moon in Leo. Now, as I was saying, the moon prefers to be in Taurus or in Cancer. She's exalted in Taurus, so when you have moon in Taurus, you have dignity. And if you're a female or a male, you're a very maternal character. It doesn't matter what your sex is. You're protective and you're mother bearish. But so is the moon in Leo. Except the moon in Leo has a regality and an arrogance and a hubris or pride about him or her that the moon in Cancer does not have. They're much more natural. When I read for people that have moon in Leo, it indicates that their mother was a sophisticated mother or a glamorous mother or a mother that was in the public eye or had some kind of podium or some kind of office. Moon in Leo. But again, moon in Leo is opposing sun in Aquarius. And when you piss a Leo off, they turn into Aquarius, which is negative Aquarius, ice cold energy. They freeze you out of their lives. You're no longer welcome to be in the sun of their shine. They will not make you warm. They'll freeze you out. You're outside their circle of importance, and you're likely not ever to be let back in again. So that's going on. That's not good, of course. That's where human suffering comes from, broken relationships. The other thing that I want to tell you, that this negative impact of where Uranus is attached to the evil star Algol, aka that Medusa full of poisonous snakes. Indeed, there could be a lot of poisoning going on. The sniper activity of the hidden agendas, of secret enemies or hidden enemies or war. And at times, I said high crime. We're going to see a lot of poison deaths at this full moon. People that are drug users and abusers will not only lose their mind, could lose their lives if you're imbibing in this horrible energy. And last night, I made a video for you, and for some reason, YouTube decided to schedule it for February 9th, but if you're part of my Facebook group or a Facebook friend in my private life, I shared that video already, and I do hope you'll take a look at it and have a good listen to it. I teach astrology and remedy, and I have a reading that does that as well, but I'm into holistic medicine. I prefer naturopathy to allopathy. I will not be seduced by pharmaceutical companies and the ills of pills. I took a sociology course in college way a long time ago in the mid-'80s, and my sociology professor talked about the sociology of sickness and how we treat. You get to stay home from school if you don't feel well, little Johnny or little Susie, and mommy will wait on you hand and foot and bring you this and bring you that. And then we're inundated with these diabolical commercials that are making us human guinea pigs. And in that video that I made for you, I think it was called The Seduction of Alcohol and Substances. I do care that you comment to me, and I thank you when you do. Don't be afraid just because I talk um, astrology that you might not fully understand, because I have a heart of gold and I'm happy to answer questions and help you understand. But I do hope you'll look that video up. I emailed YouTube and Google to say, hey, please release it now. I made it last night for you. Um, and I was exceedingly tired, so it took me 3 or 4 tries to get it. And it is not a video, it's audio. Please stay with me, even though that's my preference to give my work out that way. Thank you for saying you want to see me, but I don't really like to be in front of the camera, and I prefer a quiet study. I'm a bit of a hermit, and a whole lot of a quiet intellectual, I suppose. Um, so back to the erratic energy of where Uranus is right now. Um, the whole entire aspect configuration is about instigation. Make no mistake. So, to be on the end of this, and this could be you, Taurus, this is where Uranus is at, and it could be you, Scorpio. In the conflict that's going on, that could very well be family, where this energy is, the part of it that hurts so bad is the surprise factor, isn't it? Now, the video that I did yesterday talks a lot about nervous tension, and we can be really high wired right now. Number one, at all full moons, that energy, the light of that bright full moon, because we're like little moonstones down here on the earth, and we can't survive without our sun and our moon. And so we can be really recharged, because Uranus is an electrical energy. It's a kinetic energy. It is the energy of lightning bolts. So we have a lot of electrification going on in the skies. With this energy, there will be interruptions of your internet. There will be disconnected electricity. There will be big miscommunications. But the hard part, especially for Taurus and Scorpio, while Leo and Aquarius are warring, and mothers are against fathers, and men are against women, and authority is against subordinates, it's a mess. The big part of it is that the surprise factor. And you can imagine movies are made of the drama of that surprise factor when you're running along in your life, floating along in the river of life, and you think all is well, and then out of nowhere, maybe it's a diagnosis, maybe it's finding out that somebody isn't who you thought they were. There's all kinds of surprise elements that come with this, and we're going to talk about this because it's a very big deal. So I don't like that for you. I'm a Taurus, a double Taurus, and we like things the way they are. We're not people that are big on surprise, and we don't love to be in the spotlight, and we're pretty ordinary people, and we like to be left alone. We cherish our families. We usually have a small group of people that want to be around us. Scorpio, our shadow side, is the very same way. They're even less social than we Taurus, who aren't very social. The only people we want next to us is our herd, our tribe, our family, our closest friends. Otherwise, hi acquaintance, we'll be nice to you, but don't come over unannounced. We're not interested in hanging out with a bunch of people. We don't need to follow the crowd. We like to be left alone. So the surprise factor in this dynamic is pretty huge. Now, at the light of every full moon, this illumination of the moon is a huge spotlight for our planet. And it's really dynamic when we have supermoons, because that means the moon is closer to the earth. This again is a 24-degree configuration where the sun's at 24 degrees Aquarius conjunct Mercury. So Mercury is our mind, our thought process, our little everyday travels to the grocery store, to the neighbor. It is the neighbors too, by the way. So you can be having some huge issues with neighbors at this time. Mercury is your mind, how you think, how you feel, whether you process slowly, whether you process fast, whether you are a contemplative thinker before you speak, or whether you blab things out that come to your mind as quickly. More and more people will be of the latter and more apt to say what they think instead of tempering what they think. because of the pressure cooker. So things are going to get hot. Things are going to get ugly. We're going to find things out that we didn't really want to find. We're going to know things that we can't unknow. And it's going to be highly charged. When I was talking to you about instigation, think about films that we love, or dramas or operas. You can't have a really good film or a really good plot without an antagonist. The protagonist, the leading lady or leading man, would be, in this case, the sun in Aquarius and the moon in Leo. So these actors and actresses and the themes of our lives, and it would be fun for you while you take down this video. It would be a fun and very introspective and great analytical exercise for you to do. And I love literary analysis. I love critical thinking. I took all those classes in college. I love philosophy. And at this time, it would be a good idea, if you have a troubling situation, to get a piece of paper and a pencil out. I encourage you to even draw, because every Taurus and every Libra love to draw. We're artistic. And little children love to draw, and they're in the mix of this mess too. So it can be a daddy and a child against a mommy. And it is children rebelling against their mother, make no mistake. It's teenage rebellion. It's runaway energy. It's divorce energy. It's people that are cutting each other off, having enough of each other, and becoming factions rather than friends or family. And so back to what I encourage you to do. So take a situation that you're in. Let's pretend that you have a neighbor that is stealing from your garden. All right? So the sneaky energy that comes into this mix is not only that Mars is retrograde, because that's backhandedness. That's not coming straight to your face and saying, hey, saw you in my cabbage patch last night and I'm missing 7 cabbages. That's Mars direct. Mars behind your back, though, is going to get some revenge. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. But the other dynamic besides a retrograde Mars in this configuration of the full moon in Leo at 24 degrees, the sun's at 24, the moon's at 24, Uranus at 24, and the dynamics are Leo and Aquarius, the hot and cold of the situation, the anger and fury, and then the icing out, the freezing you off, the cutting you off, and death. And it's underneath all of it is some kind of roiling pressure, being pissed off. This family member does that, or this family does that, or this family member's done me wrong, but we got Pluto. Pluto's at 2 degrees of Aquarius, so he's not in the orb of this configuration, but he's underhanded, and he's hanging out in the shadow, and so is Black Moon Lilith, all around these points and energies, but for Pluto. But his energy is so big and so life-changing and so profound that we can't ignore that there's a devil in the mix. So back to that neighbor. It's sneaky energy. He's coming over in the dark. He's taking something that belongs to you. And because this is a fixed T-square, this is about someone stealing from you, and then you being shocked to find out maybe your husband has squandered your finances, or someone's embezzling from the boss. The accountant that everybody thought was such a goody two-shoes is indeed pilfering from the business. So again, we're going to talk, it's instigation, it's on purpose, and it's deliberate. The evil energy that's here is deliberate. Unfortunately, Uranus rules abortion too. Now, Uranus rules astrology. Uranus rules all of us that are scientists. Uranus is technology and artificial intelligence and the robots. And Uranus is all of these things. And he is the ruler of lightning, and he is shock therapy. Or when you put electrical paddles on someone's heart to bring them back to life, Uranus rules our nervous system. The central nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system. So people are amped up, they're anxious, they're not that peaceful, and they need to be. And therein lies the remedy that we'll talk about in a little bit. But this is an antagonizing energy. It's again, instigation. It's rebellion. So people could be finding out, oh my God, I'm pregnant and I'm not married, or I'm menopausal, I'm not married. Uranus is abortion. But please I'm reminding you of the fifth commandment, thou shalt not kill. And no matter what your circumstances are, no matter how dire they are, there are people that'll help you. And I would encourage you, if you're in dire straits right now, not to make huge decisions for the rest of this month. Take time. That's always a good thing to do, a prudent thing to do if you're in a crisis, because this is crisis energy. So Uranus rules divorce, Uranus rules abortion, Uranus rules the runaway, the teenage runaway that never comes home. And Uranus is sudden death. Uranus is an interruption of the electricity of the heart and brain. Stroke and heart attack are going to be on the rise at this full moon. So if you have high blood pressure and internal pressures in your family, you need to make sure that you have a peaceful retreat or a place to get away from all of this. This is a violent energy. It's destructive. It's about social misfits acting out. Indeed, it's abrasive. It's social insult. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that too. But it's an overt, unhinged radical, because this is the weirdo or the person living on the fringes of society who now comes out in their full paraded glory to cause trouble. So it's erratic energy. It's unstable energy. I mean, if you think about the rhythms of life, we've got biorhythms that are regulated in each and every human system that have to do with the energy output, the energetic output of your soul, yourself, your biological makeup of the brain waves and heart. So think about this as a really erratic energy, and that's what happens during heart attack and stroke. So yeah, this is high instability. Before we talk cure, I want to talk about the Sun and Mercury in Aquarius. Now, I told you that can be a father and a child against a mother. That can be, but it's an internal conflict because the moon is in Leo. So the conflict is an internal building up of these pressures for whatever's going on at home or in the marriage that all of a sudden explode like earthquake energy. That's total destruction and annihilation. And that conflict, the Sun and Mercury are squaring Uranus. Like I said, it's a red star. It's the left eye of the bull, the evil star. And that's connected to something called the Seven Sisters Pleiades. And if you're interested in mythology, maybe I'll do a video on you for that. They're the seven sisters weeping. So they're in the night sky, and it's been distress and danger and desolation and abandonment and all of these things when people get left behind that are no longer included that happen. It's isolationist. They're weeping in the night sky. So all of this energy is attached to that as well. And Taurus's nature is practical efficiency, and Aquarius's nature is abstractual concept. And this is in conflict right now, which means we shouldn't be making decisions. We shouldn't be trying to settle lawsuits. We shouldn't be signing legal papers. We absolutely should wait, because none of us are going to be rational, and none of us are going to be thinking clearly, and none of us will make good decisions during this energy. When we have the moon, Mercury squaring Uranus, I told you that children will be really willful, teenagers especially, unruly, irrational, and they're upset. Excuse me, please. It's a good idea. Prediction is prevention. So be preemptive right now. Make your home calm. Cut out the noise. No loud music right now. Imbibe peace in your home. You can see my diffuser going in front of me. And if you're a member of my 3 Keys Astrology, contact Renee. Come on in and ask me if you need a reminder. She's a very sweet friend of mine. and I buy all of my essential oils from her. My home always smells fresh. It's important that you don't have obstacles in your way right now. And if that means clearing a path out, if you should have gotten rid of things like I've been telling you with Pluto and Aquarius, and you still haven't done that, really do a good house cleaning, because all of us have extra energy right now, and all of us are not needing a whole lot of sleep. The best thing you can do for your rebellious teenagers is to listen to them and speak to them gently. Confronting them is a bad idea right now. In fact, confronting anybody is a bad idea right now. They need to be heard because they've got inner turmoil and conflict, and they're growing, and the world's crazy, and they don't know who to listen to, and you don't want them listening to the wrong people. So let your home smell good. Have your environment clean, obstacle free, nothing to step over, nothing to fall over, no twisted wires, no isolationist energy where everybody's off in their own corner and with bedroom doors shut and ignoring each other. Have an open door to that teenager. Let them know that you understand that maybe you went through that, and even share personal stories. You don't know how enlightening that is to a teenager to find out, oh, maybe grandma was married before, or oh, aunt so and so had an abortion, or so and so did this. You've heard the saying that families are only as sick as their secrets. And the less secretive you are and the more open you are about people's infallibility, that's the truth. We all make mistakes. People do get pregnant in families, and lots of us are made of that whoopsie pregnancy. And we have to support each other during those mistakes and talk about things openly so that that child can come to you and say, Mom or Dad, I'm having these feelings about my boyfriend or my girlfriend, and then make decisions that are intelligent and practical as a family. Because we have impracticality as part of the dynamic of this aspect configuration, we really need to help one another. So, yeah, we really got to love up our teenage kids in college even. Until you live on your own and pay your own bills and have people to be responsible for, you're not technically an adult. And in this configuration, we're not doing our children a favor when we get them out of trouble all the time, or we pay their way, or they don't have to pay bills. The arrogance of the silver child with a silver spoon in his mouth ends up shooting him in the foot later on in life, because Taurus is telling you to be responsible and to be steady. We have some beautiful things that are helping us too, and I'll get to those in a minute, but let me finish with all the notes that I've made for you. Like I said, this energy, people can be caught really off guard and unexpected. This is a feeling of being overwhelmed if you're on the receiving side of the shock, and also by the demands of your nervous system. So back to helping the teenager too. I highly recommend that you have a soup each week, no matter who you are, no matter what's going on in the stars. Have a nice bone broth based soup if you're vegetarian, root vegetables. But the old saying that chicken soup is for the soul is no joke. The nourishment that comes from bones, that comes from root vegetables, are mineral rich, and that's a calming to the nervous system. Calcium, magnesium, potassium, these things are necessary, especially right now for teenage and adult bodies. Having quiet time, shutting off the TV. Don't listen to the news. If you can't handle it, you don't, and there's nothing you can do about it, don't participate, because it's going to amp you up to the point that you're not going to be able to sleep. There's going to be a lot of really bad news, unfortunately, and this can overwhelm your nervous system. The energy is telekinetic. There's a lot of tension in the air, and it's telekinetic because we're feeling bodies, especially at high full moons in Leo, a fire sign of passion and drama and excitement. So again, go back to that little family. Pretend you're writing a play for your family, especially if you have an antagonist in the family. Do you have a daughter-in-law that's always disrupting? Do you have an annoying father-in-law or an annoying mother-in-law that's coming over all the time right as soon as you get home from work, and you just want to love your wife or your husband and be alone with your children, and she's always in your business and always in the way? Um, that's the kind of energy that I want you to plot. Pick out who's the sun and Mercury in the scenario, who's the moon and Leo in the scenario, and then what do they do? So, what are their good traits? What are their strengths? How do they benefit the family? And what is negative and annoying and things that need to be discussed and resolved? And the same thing with the moon and Leo. This will help you cure that T square, because if you don't say anything and it keeps on happening and you have to be exposed to them all the time, and that's quite problematic. I think that's all right. So I wanted to talk to you about the components behind the scenes of this aspect configuration. And we've got some people in the news right now demonstrating erratic Uranus. So at this time, because this is a fixed aspect configuration with Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius, we're the signs that are most concerned with security. And each and every nation needs security. The world needs security. Each and every nation made of its people needs security. People need homes. People need food. People need schooling. People need transportation. People need to survive. That's the fixed square. The crux of the energy, of fixed energy, is I need my own this. I need my own that. My family needs transportation so we can go to work and to provide for our family, for our business, for our homes. So playing the instigator and antagonist right now in the news are people who are taking to the streets in rebellion, and they're talking nonsensical. They're talking about things that don't matter, like food, like housing, like our veterans who deserve so much better, like hospitalization, like the constructs of society that have to function in order for the people to be healthy, like safety and security. So erratic individuals, again, Uranus is unhinged right now. It's a raging bull, mad cow disease, the cow in heat that's, hell bent on her mission. That's what's going on. We've got Senator Al Green right now in Texas making a fool of himself, threatening to impeach the president. And in this outrageous exposition, he's the character on stage of the play, bringing all the attention to himself, and he's playing the role of the outraged, evil. He's the justice to the evil intention of President Trump. And in this outrageous display, his hands are flying in the air. He's bragging about he did it before and he's going to do it again. And in this demonstration, he's acting like a demented lunatic. And he's actually acting out his own very own personal disgrace. He's not calm. He's not contemplative. He's not rational. He's not a problem solver. He's not coming to us as an esteemed thinker that wants to collaborate and cooperate. No, he thinks he's justice. He's all a man of himself. Now, in a not so nice example, not to say that that's nice, because that's just, they're fools. Uranus can be foolish. Uranus can be totally a weirdo. And anytime we're rebelling that's loud and noisy and public, it's foolish. There's no class in that. There's no dignity in that. There's no distinction in that. And the moon in Leo requires that right now, to be composed, to be logical, although the moon in Leo is quite reactive. The cure to that is to think before you speak, to stay away from trouble if you know it's brewing, and I would, again, recommend not to be in public places. And I told you, danger's been very palpable at night if you're watching reading my weekly forecasts or listening to them. So we have Senator Al Green making a fool of himself. And you can, when you're drawing your family dynamics, you can pick out that character in the family that's destructive, self destructive, loud and noisy, seeks a center of attention, the person who has always got to be about them. And this is involves with the sun and moon in their positions because the sun is debilitated in Aquarius. It belongs over in Leo and it's not there. So this is narcissism. These are people that are so self-important. They don't consider anyone else, and they go on, and it's too much, and it's always about them, and they're always in a crisis with this conflicted energy. So the other person that I want to tell you about that I hate to even bring up, but where Pluto is, where Mercury, where these stars in this configuration are, and where Mars retrograde in Cancer, that sneaky backstabbing energy is what that is. And I want to remind you that we had a person in the news just after the new year at 1 o'clock in the morning in New Orleans, and he indeed is embodying the energy of this aspect configuration, and I'll tell you how. So he acted alone in seclusion. A lot of Aquarians need alone time. A lot of the fixed signs need alone time. Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio, we all have a very private inner self that we don't want to share with other people. So this character, a military character, indeed served, is seething at home alone in his place in Houston. And he's plotting and he's planning in his seclusion delusion that he's going to act out all alone in a criminal threat to steal lives. And indeed, his intentions were to kill his own family. But he instead wanted attention. He wanted to be left a legacy, though a malicious one, that he'd be seen out in public and in the world. And so he traveled, rented a truck, had his explosives in coolers that he plotted and planted all over. I forget what you call it in New Orleans. I don't like it there. I've been there. I can't stand it. I could smell sin when I was there and never desired to go back there, right in the heart of New Orleans. Anyway, I can't think of what the square is called, but so this character was generating conflict and seething and stewing, and that energy, Mars in Cancer retrograde, is this imploding energy inside. You want revenge. You're gonna right wrongs. You know who did it, and you're gonna come after them, but you're gonna do it behind their back somehow. You're gonna sneak in and sabotage somehow. So this character wanted to generate conflict in the outer world, and he put whether or not he was actually part of a terrorist group. He had stickers on the back of his vehicle that were left at the crime scene where he stole lives. He went with the intention to kill, and that's what this energy is about. There's something seething in these people that have Mars and Cancer. And they can appear to be, they're passive aggressive first of all, but they're behind the scenes. So when you're drawing this family dynamic, or maybe it's a work situation that's going on, name your characters. Who's playing the role of the cold, indifferent one? Who's playing the role of the hothead, the arrogant one who thinks they're a cut above the rest? Who's playing the role of the weirdo? Who's the one that you don't quite trust and you can't figure out why, but you know something's not right? Because jealousy, hostility, resentment. That character wanted international attention and he got it, but he also went to meet his maker. So this is outright hostility, and this is an enragement within that just outwardly explodes. And these people are like time bombs, and I'm not kidding. And this energy too, because Uranus is involved, could be such things. So I don't want to, Senator Al Green looking like a fool. If you don't know him, go look at it. Really, we would hope that the body that's regulating our laws in this nation are thoughtful, introspective people, not noisy weirdos. And yet now they're all in the street hollering and screaming and making noise, wearing weird stuff on their head, choosing colors of the rainbow for their preferences. And it's total nonsense. And it's okay if you disagree with me, but when you go take a look at what our taxpayer dollars have gone to, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of condoms, gay operas, transgender operas, teaching people DEI in other states. It's damn ridiculous when people can't even afford childcare in the United States of America and other countries, because I have a lot of members and I've taught worldwide and have people that come to me from other countries that are facing the same survival problems. So before we can get big and take care of our fringe interests, like your transgender opera or your whatever, you do you, but first you got to pay the bills. And people that work deserve to be able to have affordable childcare, should be able to afford groceries, and should be able to repair their homes when they start to naturally deteriorate. And so I don't have very much sympathy for this nonsense, and I'm angry that money's being spent on such nonsense. And I'm very glad for the administration we currently have. And if you don't know who Kristi Noem is, she's my kind of people. Those are the kind of women we can look up to. I'm also really digging Senator Moody, if you know her. I think she's from Florida. There's some really strong women. Pam Bondi, Tulsi Gabbard. There's some really strong women in power right now, and that's a very, very good thing. So the last thing that I want to tell you is the cure. So when we have aspect configurations that are T-squares, we look at the apex of the T-square. The apex point, as I've said at length, is Uranus and Taurus. This explosive energy that's under pressure and is going to bust out and burst out like Weird Al Green. There was a great singer. I love Motown. Al Green used to be a pretty amazing singer, but this guy is not. And if he's related to him, I wish he had a melodic voice instead of a screaming, hollering lunatic that he is. That he is going to be the king, once and for all, and impeach our president. No, he's not. And don't listen to the nonsense. It's not going to happen. The cure here is that we have to go to a point that's opposite the apex point. In this case, it would be at 23 degrees of Scorpio. So while you're doing this introspective lesson to be preemptive and to prevent these kinds of explosions or these kinds of uncomfortable situations, and I'm telling you right now, if there's a baby shower or a wedding or a funeral or a company meeting or something that's really important, knowing that there's this kind of energy, if you have beef with somebody, check out, stay home. If it's a court case, put it off, reschedule it. If it's a decision about your marriage or the life of an unborn child, gosh, take the time. This is not the time to be making decisions. Everybody's wired up. There's a lot of nervous tension, and that's just the way it is. So the healing point comes to 23 degrees Scorpio, 24 degrees Scorpio, 25 degrees Scorpio, all the way to the end of Scorpio. So what do we have to do? Well, number one, we've got to name our enemies, because the rulers of Scorpio are causing a lot of trouble in the stars right now. Mars is the ancient ruler of Scorpio, and Pluto is the contemporary ruler of Scorpio. And both of these planets are in positions that involve death, destruction, war, corruption, sniper energy, sneaky energy, energy intending to do harm. So number one, you got to flesh out the enemy. And even if you suspect someone right now, I would go with my hunches, because the moon in Leo is keen energy. Full moon energy is the time to listen to our intuition. Your belly will tell you the truth about everybody if you get quiet enough and listen closely enough. So flesh them out. And then it's time to do some investigation. So your role, my sweet astrology, 3 Keys astrology peeps, in the play of life, in this little storyline you're drawing out, sketching out, draw your monsters. Go ahead and draw your father-in-law with a head full of snakes, or your bitchy mother-in-law, or your nasty daughter-in-law, or whoever's causing you grief, your mean kids. We have some of those at my house. So draw those characters out. Heads full of snakes, exploding their baloney, vomiting their problems, whatever the case may be. Do that. But the other thing to do is you got to become a private investigator. So Scorpio and Dignity are some of the finest people There are forensic psychologists. Oh, that's a juicy profession. They are PIs that go ferret out that neighbor stealing all the cabbage out of your garden. They're the PI who trails your husband or wife that are sneaking around behind your back in their clandestine activities. They're the undercover sheriff going to find the people that are bringing harm to our communities with illicit drugs. So I encourage you, your role in the play is to be a private investigator. Ferret out those sneaky, lousy relatives. Who gossips? Who shows you two faces? Who can't ever seem to be satisfied? Who just wants to get in your business and find your stuff out? Get very Scorpio. That's the cure for this. What else did I say about that? Yeah, flush them all out by the light of the full moon. Put a big old spotlight on their character and make sure you keep them. And in this case, it's okay to cut off and it's okay to distance yourself because this is, you'll get a bullseye view, I would say, if you step back and stay back and take a really close look at the roles people play in your life, at their purpose in your life, at their value in your life. What do you bring to each other? If it's a family, God decided who they were going to be, and we're meant by God's grace and mercy to forgive each other, to work things out, and to cooperate. But some people just can't help themselves. And in your maturity and in your astrological learning, it is quite okay to say, I've had enough, and enough is enough. And I encourage you to do that. One of the things that I want you to imagine that you're doing when you're making this, plotting out this play or the story of your family life right now, is to rise like the phoenix, because that's what dignified Scorpio people are. They're the esteemed law enforcement officers. They're people of high justice. They're psychotherapists or great surgeons who cut out the disease and the poison in the body. I told you, poisoning is going to be a thing. Detrimental flight to helicopters, airplanes, sabotage, some kind of sneaking in like that creep that took all the lives of the people in New Orleans and planted, I don't know if they were some kind of bombs and coolers all around the city and the square. So there's that sneaky stuff's going on. Noxious gases like carbon monoxide poisonings. We've got to be careful. So check your homes for things that would pollute the air. And even think about your own breath. Are the words that are being spoken giving you health? So is it constructive talk or is it destructive talk? Is it doing things to give you health or is it taking away from your health? And I mean your relationships. One of the things that I wanted to tell you, the reason that we're going to be so amped up is because this energy with Moon and Uranus can indicate quite a few things. So it can be the mother that's histrionic. That we'll give an example. That, let's say, is newly divorced, and in her acting out Moon Leo energy, she's dressing like a teenager, over, what do you call that, plastering on the makeup and going to concerts or hanging out with younger crowds or wearing her teenage daughter's clothing. That's Moon Uranus energy, especially in Leo. She wants attention drawn to herself. Any woman that is in public immodestly dressed is indeed exhibiting some kind of mental disorder in a narcissism or a self-aggrandizing. And that's all this Moon and Leo energy. So people who want you to look at them, or, it's really, it's an unusual moon. So the moon is mom. So in some way, somehow your mom's aberrant. She's weird. She's not like your other. I wish my mom was like my neighbor's mom. She drives her to school. She listens to her. She's dressed like a mom. She stays with her husband. But my mom, she's never home when I get home, or she's drinking, or she's in the bar. Moon Uranus energy is very difficult. Moon Uranus energy in the family can be secret affairs. So the image of the mother, the moon, would be in Cancer or dignified in Taurus, is aberrant right now. It's Uranian. It's acting out and acting up. And and it is okay if that's the situation you're living in to divorce yourself from that kind of energy. There's the moon in the shadow side of that energy is the cold mother, and not paying attention to your emotional needs or what you're feeling. That's why I encourage you, if you have rebellious teenagers, to really take the time with them right now, or you might lose your child for the rest of your life. It happens. Um, because I've done legacy readings, I've gone back to the middle 1700s. I've done the lines of family through generations, and it's so interesting how patterns repeat, and so do themes. And it's not an accident why that happens. I talked about that in that video that I want you to see about don't be seduced by pharmaceutical companies or the glamour of alcohol. I think that's the name of the video. I forget what I named it exactly, but the same thing happens in families. So we have habits, which is the moon. The moon tells what our habits are. That's how we astrologers read. And families have habits. So if it's your habit to every Friday night everybody comes over for dinner, or we Italian families, grandma's always cooking on Sunday, everybody comes over for dinner. We go to mass together, and then but we also have bad family habits too. Dad's a drinker, mom's a drinker, the kid's a drinker, the family spends the time at the bar, owns a bar, lives in a bar, or, the casino is where they all have their entertainment and fun, and life is a game of chance, and risk this and risk that and risk security. There's lots of things going on. So I want you to really take a close look at your family dynamics. When the moon in Leo shows her shadow side, she goes cold. So that's the mother that might be in the home, but she doesn't have a clue what's going on because she's so dramatic and involved in her own life, Moon Leo. And she's all about her affairs and her looks and her glamorous life and whatever craziness all that is. And it's crazy when it's attached in a square to Uranus. She's oblivious to the needs of the children. She's self-involved. She's not thinking about what the child needs. And that's where we need to be. During this full moon in Leo, we really need to ask if we don't know. But we really have to think about the other. Think about the children. Think about the women in your family. Think about the people at your church. Think about the people in your community. What do people need? That's why it's so outrageous that these people are in the streets talking about nonsensical things. Let's talk about the nuts and bolts. Let's talk about the bread and beef of life. We got to take care of our land. We got to provide good, clean food that's nutritious. Everybody deserves a home. And those are the important things. We need a cure for cancer. This is nonsense that we keep losing people that we love. That's where money should go. And that's where our priorities have to be. So that's what this is about. Without going into big detail, because I've talked quite long already, I want to quickly talk about the good things that are going on. So we have this beautiful little heavenly configuration in the night sky during this full moon that looks like a butterfly, or you could say angel's wings. And in it is Pluto. And Pluto has a little bit of trouble if you submit or succumb to arrogance. Sorry, my foot is going dead. And I hate doing videos, you guys. I'm doing it for you, though. So Pluto has a really nice configuration during this. All right, I got to get up for a second. Sorry. I'll sit right back on my numb foot because I'm almost done. Okay. So Pluto has a really nice configuration to Jupiter in Gemini. And I've told you that with the Sun and Mercury in Aquarius, with Jupiter going forward in Gemini, with Pluto in Aquarius, these four planets, almost half of what's going on in the constellations, are about us being amped up mentally. You'll have a bigger desire to do research. You'll have a bigger desire to read. You'll have a bigger desire to know, and that's a super good thing. That's why we're going through such major changes on the planet. There's a beautiful configuration that goes from Pluto at 2 degrees Aquarius down to Jupiter at 11 degrees of Gemini. And then it forms what are called bisextiles. And these are heavenly configurations of blessing. And in that configuration, we have Mars going to Uranus and going to Saturn. And that bisextile is telling you to harness your crazy, settle down, get stable, get real, get realistic. And if in your private investigations during the light of this full moon, when we're going to be very surprised and upset by these erratic individuals that are unhinged, that are playing Medusa, that are being Black Moon Lilith in marriages because she's there in this mess. The she-devil and he-devil are strong. So that's saying get rational, get realistic, take your time, don't make big decisions. The other apex of the bisextile that Pluto's involved in is with Venus. And it goes from Venus to Uranus and back to Pluto. And that's sudden awakening insights into just how valuable your own life is. And it is. And this is also part of the cure for this day. Take a look at the women in your family because Venus is at the apex. Really cherish them. Do they know how much you care? Do you know how much they mean to you? Our daughters, our grandmas, our moms, if you're lucky enough to still have one. This configuration is saying, what do I value? And I would encourage you when you're doing your little fun story of life and playing the private eye to ferret out the monsters in your life, the Medusas and the saboteurs and the troublemakers and the ne'er-do-wells and the ones that always have problems and that are bringing the drama. At the same time, when we have got Venus in an apex or a little bisextile, she's at the apex point. This is a time when we look at our values and our valuables. Oh my gosh, I'm so thankful that I have this. Wow, do I have a wonderful best friend. I have had my first best friend since I was 3 years old, and we're now 63 almost and 65 almost, and I still have her. Value your sisters, value your family, value your job, even if it's going to be changing this year. That's how you can help this also. That's a cure. So that's precious. Venus with Pluto is ride or die love. That's loving you till death do we part. That's indeed literally what that sentence means. So measure the quality of the people in your life that you can count on. My grandma's always there for me. My grandma taught me this even if she's in heaven. Oh my gosh, I love that I'm a Carvelli because they did this or they did that. And do tell your teenagers the sweet things, but also tell them the sour things. That'll help them trust you because no one's perfect. Nobody lives in a glass house. Nobody is sin-free. Nobody on this earth. And so also teach your children to learn how to politely ignore those that think they're better than others during this time because Venus is values. So that's very beautiful. And then, so they indeed look like two little tiny blue triangles, kind of an angel and angelic. And when I told you to rise above the conflict that's going on, whether it's internal, and it can be, and if it is, you're going to do a lot more writing. And I definitely encourage you to pretend you're a playwright, pretend you're writing a story, and take a look, and you might be amazed how easy it will be for you to handle these situations. But you have to face your problems. It's not a time for confrontation, so I'd wait. This is a good time with all those planets in the air signs to assimilate it. The other nice thing that we have is the Piscean energy. The North Node is in Pisces, and that's about getting closer to God. That's about realizing that you're more than a person. You're a soul. And that's about thinking about what God wanted you to do while he gave you this life. He gave you everything you have. He gave you the family, whether they're messed up, whether they're broken, whether they're wonderful, whether they're troublemakers. He gave you that, and why? And what's your role in the mix? And how are you a troublemaker? And how do you cause the problems? And when do you bring the light? And when do you bring the sunshine? And when do you bring the rain? And when how can you solve these things? So that's what's really going on at this full moon. When I told you to rise up and take a bird's eye view of the scene in order to figure things out when you're playing the private eye because the cure is in the Scorpio energy, that's what else the North Node in Pisces is doing. So we've got profound water energy right now, and that's emotional energy. And it's normal when there's a full moon to be highly emotional because the moon is reactive. And we astrologers can tell your temperament by looking at how your moon is and how you respond and react to things. Now, I do want to tell you this all comes back to your soul. And the whole wide world is on a soul journey right now with the North Node in Pisces. We're supposed to be letting go of our critical selves, our picky selves, our unforgiving selves, our selves that think we know better than everybody else. And we're supposed to get more Piscean, be more, and with where Pluto is in Aquarius too, it's about brotherhoods, sisterhood, the needs of the community, the needs of the world, the needs of the church, the needs of the family. It's not solo lone wolf energy. It's not all about me like the selfie generation. Those days are gone. This is about your place in the pie and what you have to offer, your values, your morals, your service, your work, your legacy that you'll leave. So there's a couple more things I want to talk to you about. Every single planet in the chain of command comes right back to you right now during this full moon. And with the sun where it is in Aquarius and Mercury, your thoughts, the way you become what you're supposed to become, in conflict with the moon in Leo, it's getting in touch with my hot and cold feelings. Well, how do I react when this happens or that happens? Journal about it. Full moons are a great time to start dream journals. And I told you the secret is you're not allowed to read it until the next full moon. So if you're doing that exercise, which is divine, you wouldn't believe the message you'll get that are telekinetic, that'll come from you to spirit. And in your dreams, because this energy is highly, highly intuitive with Uranus in this complex. So how you do this, I'll explain it if you've never heard it. You go to bed every night with a cold bowl of water beside your bed. And if you've lost loved ones that you want to connect with, ask your spirit guides, angels, and Mother Mary to intercede for you. And pray. Pray to Jesus and say, I need some advice, Grandma or Mom or whoever is that you've lost that's part of your family or friendships. And that cold bowl of water beside your bed is kind of an electrical conduit, if you will, to the other side, the life beyond the veil. It's so sheer and thin. They're around us. We do have guardian angels. We have angels. We have saints and angels and spirit guides and loved ones gone that still love us and care about us that we will see again, that are looking down on this. So this chart showing themes of bird's eye views, phoenix rising, looking from above down at the situation, weighing out the hot and cold of it all. But when you dream journal, you get a fresh cold bowl of water, put it beside your bed. At that journal, the key is go to sleep with prayers, go to sleep with gratitude, go to sleep with intentions of what you want to know or understand or figure out with the help of these angelic beings. The minute you wake up in the morning, grab the journal. Do not move. Don't get out of bed. Don't let your feet touch the floor because you'll lose the connection to what you've just learned in your dream sleep. And you begin to journal. Write down everything you can remember about a dream. Write it out, but don't read it. You can't read it. And I encourage you to do this for the entire month. Then you take your bowl of water and dump it out and say a blessing and say thank you. Get on your knees and pray and say thank you to whomever is coming with you. Spirit guides, guardian angels, whomever they are. And you repeat this until the next full moon. And at that full moon is when you can read your journal and be prepared to be mind blown. Because you wouldn't believe the spiritual guidance that is with you, present at all times in your life every single day. And so I'm still rambling on here. It's so exciting, but I'd like to tell you a couple of things. This full moon energy is going to go toward the galactic center, which is 27 degrees of Sagittarius. And so if it's not enough to you that we have these planets so high in Aquarius, which is a very bright energy. Our Aquarian friends and families are really smart. Those are the geeks that we like. Those are the scientists. I love these kind of people. One of my daughters has her sun and moon in Aquarius. And they're thinkers and they're problem solvers and they're brilliance. There's brilliance in our Aquarians. They're our future. So we have all those planets that are up there. And the sun and moon will be moving toward the degree that is the galactic center. And this is encouraging us to think about the group, not the self. And that'll also help you during this time. I want to tell you that this is kind of bad energy, but there's some dangerous stars. We have stars in the heavens, the red ones, according to the Arabics, and the ancient Babylonians and the Greeks even. The red is the fiery color of Mars. The color of red evokes car accidents, and hospitals aren't painted red because of the passion that comes and the anger that comes with this hot, fiery energy. So stars in the heavens, like Mars, you can see with your naked eye, is red. And the left eye of the bull is red. Algol is red. Told you, that's Medusa, the head of snakes. There's a star that is near this aspect configuration of danger with Uranus at the apex of the T-square called, we'll just call it Zubin for now. It's got a really long name, Zubin Genubai. And it's got a military fiercity and ferocity to it. It's violent. It's a violent and unforgiving character. And this is a star that can cause disease too. So if you have planets near that point. But again, come and get an astrologer. We know the whole of the whole. It's hard to just break it apart in tiny pieces and see the whole picture. But that's our job. So that's going on in this. We also have a star called Blaze. And that's at 20 degrees of Scorpio. And this infers tragedy, calamity, natural disaster. And in a personal life, if you have this point in your chart, it's that insatiable desire to be famous, or you're so driven that everybody falls to the wayside for whatever you're driving yourself toward. It's a desire to have fame or notoriety, but it's often a fall from grace. So that's going on. And then we have the fixed star Acumen, and that's at 20 degrees. This star and the last star that I want to tell you are right above the tail, the Stinger and the Scorpion. And these two stars, Acumen's at almost 29 degrees. It's 28:43 minutes of Scorpio. This star can cause literal blindness. So at this time, it's so interesting because we've got a head full of snakes. We've got erratic behavior. We've got energy of losing your head and losing your mind. We've got this element of surprise and sabotage, but blindness. So people born with these stars, evil stars near them, can be afflicted with literal blindness. And in a sense that's not literal, when we have a configuration where these stars are in transit, touching these points, we can be blind to what's going on. And that's the things that are going on behind our backs, such as the embezzler at your company, or the spouse having the affair, or, the teenage pregnant daughter, or whatever it is, the son doing drugs. So these things are key. The star Blaze is kind of shamelessly bold, like I was talking to you about the erratic, crazy mother moon Uranus energy. She's dressing like she's 16, and she's hanging out in bars, and she's not at home providing nurturance and sustenance for her children. So there's a lot going on. I think that I'm going to leave this here. I was going to go through each sign, but that's what most other astrologers do. So thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you for sharing my beloved work and putting it on your social platforms. You're really helping me build the channel. Thank you. I would like to get monetized. That's my goal. The more you comment and talk, the more the logarithm sees what you're doing. If you like my work, if you like it, please put my videos on your Facebook pages. Tell your friends about me. I'm a mom. I've got 3 daughters. that are adults and doing very well in their lives. I have two little grandsons. I have a beautiful son in law. I have a wonderful husband. And I have childhood friends that still love me and care about me in my life, that matter a lot to me. I'm thinking of you, Sunny, and Tammy, and Karen, and Colleen for sure, my little bestie since I was 3 years old. And that's the focus. Think about what your life is about and who really matters to you during this time. And then keep things quiet. Feed your family soup. Turn the lights down. Get some nice essential oils from my friend Renee. She's in our Three Keys Astrology group. They'll mail them to you wherever you live. I'm not sure if she can get them to you guys in Australia and in the UK, but my home always is clean and well kept and loved. And so get rid of the obstacles in the way that cause frustration. Be very careful. This is accident energy. And I love you guys. I really appreciate that I get the opportunity to come and be your analyst, read for you, consult with you, help you, solve your problems. It's such a great joy to me, and it means so much to me. And most of all, I love teaching. So I was going to be a professor, and I had a life-changing Uranian incident that totally changed my life and took my middle age, stole about 18 years of my middle age. But I'm back, and I will do astrology until the day that I die. So I love you guys. Take care, and I hope you can hear this. I hope you enjoy it. And please comment below and tell me, what are your three keys? Who's the problematic figure in your life? And I do readings about other people for you too, if there's somebody who has you confounded or upset or frazzled, and we can get to the bottom of it if you know their birth time, their birthplace, and their birth date. Bye for now.